Howdy, all. We always like to get the show started with something non-hockey related or something in our lives. And I was just dealing with this a few minutes ago, and getting prepared for the webcast. I want quiet in my abode. No distractions, and there are people who, on a regular basis, walk around my neighborhood and ring the doorbell to give a pamphlet on
whatever,
religion, politics, whatever. You would think that they would get a hint when you don't answer after they've rung the bell 5 times.
Wow.
I mean, okay, like ring once, ring twice, even if there's a car in the driveway. They either don't want to be bothered, they're sleeping or they're busy or whatever. Just walk on to the next place. They rang the doorbell 5 times, to the point that I got up, opened the door, saying, "I'm not interested," and slammed the door.
You were that guy.
Because they left me no choice, Ross. It's like I just wanted to be blissfully ignorant and just let it go and let them go on their day, but they continued. So I hope that they mark off where I live as a place that they will not bother anymore, but that's asking too much. They'll continue
to do that for Halloween too. They mark you off as like, this guy's an idiot, and they miss your house.
Well, no, I mean I'm actually nice on Halloween, but
okay.
the thing is,
that makes sense. You're actually nice on Halloween. That does make sense.
No, I like to give poison apples and stuff. Just kidding. No, but I mean, on Halloween, if you leave your light on, that means you're inviting people in for candy. If you don't leave your light on, that means get the hell away from my place.
Right.
And most people in my neighborhood, including me, were civically minded. But the thing is, for Halloween, and this is in a lot of neighborhoods, they have like groups of people that go around. It's not the individual trick-or-treater anymore, I think, for safety purposes.
Yeah, they drop them off at like a block and the parents watch them, and they do like the whole block.
Or they have a party, and everybody gives that. That's fine. But I'm just talking about like it's one thing if it's a census taker and they need to get your information. It's something, if it's a political survey or something, giving a pamphlet, just, most people don't want to be bothered, so leave them alone.
Yeah, they don't care though, because for the ones that don't want to be bothered, they still get business off the ones that do. All right, so let's switch it up to the World Series. So right now, one of the big stories is the weather. Like, it's going to be 100 degrees. Well, it's 100 degrees in LA later today, and then like 95 around game time. And it made us all look up the 2001 World Series, which Mike would like to forget. But for whatever reason, Major League Baseball that year, in all their glory, because it's a marquee event, decided they wanted to keep the roof open. So it was 94 degrees in Arizona for game 1.
And that was with the series later in the year. It was November. Yes. Because of September 11th, because the season got delayed. And still it was ridiculous. Well, it's always ridiculously hot in Arizona. I have friends in Arizona. So, but yeah, this is
different. This is 21 degrees over the average. And, some will say, hey, who cares? They play in the summer and they play in the hot weather or whatever. But now with more on the line, not used to this weather for the last week or two, this could take a toll on the starting pitching. And, if you look up the stats in game 1s of World Series, since 95 to 2011, 100% of the teams that were a home team, if they won game 1, won the series. And then, of course, like last year, Cleveland won the first game, were the home team, and lost. So it's never an impossibility, but it's a pretty big stat. So game 1's pretty big.
Yeah, there's nothing they can really do about that. What are they going to do? Are they going to borrow those cooling zones from the NFL to trade?
That's all they can do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not happening. But do you care to make any prediction on the series?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Astros. A couple of months ago, I remember being at a Met game, and there were fans just ridiculously arguing with me about me saying the Astros were going to win it all, and they were just, I don't know why. I don't remember what their argument was. My argument was they have good pitching, but they have really superior hitting. But now we've seen superior hitting sometimes in the postseason does shut down, but they have great pitching with the two-headed monster with Verlander and Keuchel, with Keuchel going today. And that was a key ingredient for Arizona back in the day. And so I sort of view this team the same way. And the other big thing for the Astros that you probably will agree with is that they're when they rally hard. Like they can put up a lot of runs. They may hit nothing the whole game, but they can get a good rally going, and that's when they're dangerous. So I'm going to pick Astros in 6.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think it's as good, but the 1-2 punch that the Dodgers have in the rotation of Kershaw and Darvish is pretty good. It's pretty good. I think their bullpen is much better, though.
Yeah, their bullpen is better than the Astros.
Yeah, the Astros bullpen was exposed by the Yankees. I mean, Giles is a hard thrower, 100 miles an hour, but he can be hit, and some of their other relievers are not that great. So I think they have the advantage there. I think the big advantage for the Dodgers is they're getting Corey Seager back.
Yeah, that's a big bat in the lineup.
And they didn't have any problem generating offense without him in the lineup. He was like arguably probably their second best hitter behind Bellinger all year. So,
the big question will be who's watching, because this is going to be one where neither team has had a gain. I wrote about it on Sportsology if people want to check it out, but neither team has had a gain over the last year in ratings and prime time. And I kind of wonder, is this going to turn some people off?
I honestly think MLB was probably not too happy that New York and their dream matchup was New York and Chicago, and the second dream matchup would have been New York versus LA. Having Houston in there, it's the fourth biggest media market in the U.S. But still, when you have New York, LA, Chicago, you want 2 of those, and they didn't get that. So I think that's a little bit of a bummer for them. But anyway, all right, let's get started. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Tuesday, October 24th, 2017.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Starting off with some bad news in terms of injury for the Minnesota Wild. Now, they have not gotten off to a great start this year. They're 2-2-2. They're near the bottom of the Western Conference, but there's a lot of contributing factors to that. Granlund has been out for all but one game. He's supposedly coming back tonight. Nino Niederreiter is out. I think it was with a concussion, and he scored over 25 goals last year, and he's a big offensive producer for them. But they've been also without Zach Parise, and he's 33 years old. His numbers are starting to decline, but he's still a big part of that team. And he had back issues, and as Mike Russo of The Athletic reported, I believe Sunday, he was the first one to report it, Parise had back surgery this morning. It was a herniated disc. He's expected to be out for between 8 to 10 weeks, which takes him probably into the new year. Russ, we've talked about the Wild. They have some depth of talent. There's a lot there, but the loss of Parise, I think, is painful to them.
Yeah, it's massive. That's the bad side of it. The plus side is, even though they may be sitting in the basement, they've only played 6 games.
Right.
So, and the fact that they've only played 6 games, and now they've called up Luke Cunnin, who's 2 points in 3 games. He could really help them. I mean, he is like a young Zach Parise. He really is. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got a better shot than Zach Parise did. He's not quite the skater Zach Parise was, but he's close, and he's a little bigger build. And so, you know what? That's a pretty good fill-in for the time now that Parise is going to miss, which will be extensive. I mean, we won't see him probably until late in the season, if at all. Back surgery is terrible for hockey players, as you know.
Right, but yeah, they do have young guys. I mean, we've talked about Eriksson Ek and how good he is, how good of a prospect he is. What they're going to need is for those young guys to step up, and they do have a lot of talent. So
they do. Luckily, they've drafted well the last 3-4 years, and they've been able to graduate some of that talent, and that's really going to keep them going now. I mean, their defense is fine, their goaltending's fine, but that's how they're going to keep it going.
Yeah. Let's talk about the 2 games from last night. It's a couple weird ones. Start with the Rangers and San Jose.
Yeah, that was a game.
That was a game? Okay, you explain that.
Yeah, like if you want to call that a game, I mean, that was a game where the Sharks just came in and just dominated. Like, there were a couple of big plays in that game that I'd be worried about as a Ranger fan. The first one was there was an absolute open puck in front of the net, first period, like 14 minutes to go, and Kreider was on it, but so was Brett Burns, and Burns actually put the stick in the way of the puck and moved Kreider away and cleared the puck. And we've all been conditioned to think Kreider is one of the strongest players in the league, but this was all technique. And for all the times that we've talked about Burns maybe not being great defensively, this was an amazing defensive play, and it was technique. And technique won over Braun. And it's not like Burns is a weak guy. Trust me, he's a strong dude. But so is Kreider. And so he won that battle. And after that, I was like, boy, every puck battle the Rangers lost, San Jose was first in the corners. They were first to hit somebody. There was a sidewall, not even a battle, but a situation where you have to keep the puck in for Zuccarello. He's going up against Thornton. He loses that battle. Thornton wins it easy. All he does is pass it to one guy, and they get the third goal of the game. Like, the Rangers never had a chance. And Lundqvist at one point caught his skate on the ice and hurt himself and smashed his stick. He didn't break it, but he smashed it, and he was mad. On the first goal, Lundqvist was shaking his head. He is very frustrated, and you never see him this frustrated regular season this early. So that's a problem too.
Well, the question is he frustrated because the team in front of him is playing terribly, or is he getting frustrated because he re-injured himself? Because
no, he's getting frustrated because of his own play and then the players in front of him. I'm pretty sure it's himself first, because that second goal was a bleeder, and he definitely should have had it, and he didn't. And in these kinds of games, you go down 2-0 when you're a 2-10 team or whatever their record is. Well, that's not good. They're not 2-10 because they've only played 10 games. But you get
right. 2-6-2.
Yeah, 2-6-2.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's like, and Lundqvist is not someone who usually outwardly shows frustration, but
he is now.
In the game in Toronto, the season opener. I mean, when he gives up 5 goals, and like I said, I came to his defense. I mean, it would have been 7 or 8-1 if it wasn't for Lundqvist, because he made a bunch of saves. After they're down 5-1, and he's probably going to get pulled at the end of the first period because just to change momentum. He makes a glove save, and he puts a glove out there, and he sort of acknowledges to the crowd, like, his frustration. Oh, yeah, I made a save. This is a team that I thought, and a lot of people thought, not that they were going to, win the Stanley Cup, but at least that they were going to be a playoff team and competitive. And right now, they don't even look close to that, Russ.
No, they're not. And the biggest worry is when you start looking at their goaltending depth. We questioned the signing of Andre Pavlik. Pavlik's played 2 games. He's got a save percentage of .860, which is way below league average. I mean, Lundqvist is only at 900, which is, again, below league average. Mark Spector put up a stat yesterday saying from 2016-17, for all the starters in the NHL, right now Lundqvist is 20th in save percentage. It's like I want to say it was something like a 908, 910, and that's treading it as far as where he used to be. But this is the reality of where Henrik Lundqvist is now. He's going to have great games, but he's no longer a top 10 goalie in the league. I think everybody knows that. But the idea is you have to play well in front of him. They're not. So he's not playing well. There's that. It's really – and so the rest of their goaltending in their system, getting back to that, Pavlik, bad. Halverson's down in the ECHL now, so he's out of the fray. Chris Neal, I think, is the guy in Hartford right now, and he's not doing well. And so there is no answer in the Rangers system if Pavlik doesn't work. And if he doesn't work, the Rangers are now going to suffer that same sort of season that the Bruins did when they could use a backup to win some games when their starter's not exactly right and they don't have it. So Pavlik needs to get hot, and he needs to play.
The difference is that the Bruins thought that they had 2 guys that were candidates to fill that position, and neither one of them were either ready or good enough in McIntyre and Subban at that point to replace Khudobin. But yeah, I have a little thing to talk about the Rangers in a little bit, but the other game last night I was at was the Kings and the Leafs at the ACC in Toronto. And a strange occurrence that happened at the end of the first period. LA dominated the first period. They heavily outshot the Leafs. Leafs led 1-0. There was a collision on a scoring chance between Zach Hyman and Jonathan Quick. And the replay after the game showed that Quick had been hit in the head with Hyman's stick. But that's where the fun began, because Quick feigned like he grabbed his head.
Right.
And the concussion spotters, and this is where the confusion, with about less than a minute left to go, the play was stopped. The referee goes to Quick. Quick skates to the bench, and everybody thinks he's being pulled out for the concussion protocol to go to the quiet room or the dark room or whatever you want to call it. And then he goes back to the crease. And then he comes back to the bench, and Darcy Kemper steps in, but Quick doesn't go to the locker room. He stays as the backup goaltender. Like, nobody's knowing what's going on. And we find out after the game from John Stevens that through the headset, they were told that the league spotter had told Quick that he needed to come out. The league looked at the play and deemed it worthy of him coming out. And then they looked at it again and said he didn't have to come out. So the referee was telling him one thing, the league was telling him another thing, and all this did was delay the game. Now, if this had been a time like when Toronto was like buzzing around the net, it would have basically been an unofficial timeout. There was just mass confusion, and Mike Babcock was asked after the game, like, if he knew what was going on. He just sort of put up his hands because nobody really knew what was going on. It was just bizarre.
Yeah, at least I would say at least they're being proactive, but we can see now where there could be a massive issue here. And the massive issue could be, let's say Quick did come out of the game, and then they did send him to the dark room, and let's say Kemper did get hurt right after. They would have to put a regular player then in net. Like, they wouldn't have a choice.
If he was still being evaluated, yeah.
Yeah, if he was still being evaluated. And this, I'm saying this is the worst case scenario, but this could really happen now, where there was always a goalie on the bench, right? You never really saw a situation where, I don't even think in my lifetime I've seen a situation where both goalies got hurt in the game.
Yeah, I've seen it's happened in the last 2 years. Florida and Toronto, where Luongo and Montoya got hurt at the same time, and Montoya played in the game injured, basically.
Oh, he played injured. Okay, but that's what I mean. Seeing a situation where a regular player plays in net. I've seen a goalie play injured, but that's what I mean. When both goalies were out and somebody else had to come in.
Yeah, they were talking about bringing in whoever the goal. I can't remember who the goal.
Right, but they didn't do it. Right, I do remember that now. Yeah. But we haven't seen that, right, in many, many, many years. We may see that now based on the concussion protocol and for goalies, because this could conceivably happen in a game now. It's a lot more possible.
Well, what this means, because we know that there is a goaltender on standby. There is a goal, like, you know how like we had a situation where like either a goalie was traded or a goalie got sick or whatever, and then it was too close to this game time for somebody to be called up.
Yeah, but then you're prepared for that.
Right. Well, but see that guy, I don't know if he's sitting in the stands or if he's sitting, like, you know, because he's supposed
most times they're down in the locker room or down in that area by themselves. Yeah. Right.
And he probably has to wait to be given a jersey.
Yeah.
And sign a 1-day contract or whatever it is, just to, you know. So I mean that, right? But somebody was making the point after the game that the sort of the concussion protocol and the spotting situation is different for goaltenders than it is for players, because
I don't think that's the case. I don't.
Well, in this instance, if a player grabs his head, a player, not a skater, not a goaltender, the referee basically, you know, I mean, if he's on the ice or if he's on the bench, he's got to go to the locker room. They tell him right away. There was 2 or 3 minutes of play between the collision with Hyman and being told that Quick had to go. So there was a delay.
But the collision was head on, right?
No, it was a scramble in the crease, and Hyman's stick, as he's scrambling, inadvertently hits Quick in the helmet. And,
okay, but straight on in the helmet?
I think it was the side, but the determination was after the fact that Quick was embellishing. But the thing is that they can't differentiate between embellishing and an actual injury, so they're playing it safe, and they tell them to go to get medicine.
I didn't get to see it, but I'd heard about the possible embellishment, and I think maybe that's where the confusion did come in with the headset, because you're right, they do have to sort of play it safe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the side impact is the worst thing for concussions. So that's the other thing is if it was a side impact, that's another reason why a spotter would take him out, because that's more serious than a straight ahead, because that's how you get more concussions is from that side impact. And if you think about it, helmets and otherwise, it can't really protect your brain on the side impact like they can on the front impact.
No.
Everything's sort of made for that, especially a goalie mask for that front. On the side, there's not that much to a goalie mask.
Right. Well, I mean, if judgment is infected by being concussed, that might have been a case for Jonathan Quick being concussed, because late in the third period, up 3-2, he takes a dumb penalty against Leo Komarov that essentially ends the game, ends the chance of LA coming back. The Leafs won 3-2. Mitch Marner had a couple of assists. I have to say that Roman Polak coming back, even though he only played, I think it was like 11 or 12 minutes. He played well. First time he's played since he broke his leg last April.
Right.
They limited his minutes. He helped out on that bottom pairing. Actually, the rookie Andreas Borgman, who he played with, played really well. And Babcock said that after the game. I still think.
Are they mapping out the parade route yet?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm so tired of that joke. The thing is that I don't think that, and I don't think anybody was interpreting it this way, but the addition of Polak is not, is not going to prevent the Leafs from making that top four move, because Polak
definitely.
This is just solidifying the bottom pairing. This is just taking minutes away from guys who are playing in the top four that they want to concentrate more 5-on-5 rather than having like Nikita Zaitsev killing penalties. So I think that's what the move is. I still think, watching the last few games, that the Leafs are fine in the bottom pairing. It's in the top two pairings that they need dramatic improvement.
Yeah, but let's face it. What will happen with this team is they will go through the larger part of the season and see if a top four guy is even out there. Yes. If his contract is expiring, if they can get him via trade, if it's worth it, they'll all huddle together and the decision will be made whether, well, if we get this guy, how far do we think we can go, as compared to if we don't get this guy, how far do you think we can go? And then they'll make that decision. But it's going to be hard, even via trade, even just to get a top four guy.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to go down the road of a rental. I mean, if you look at who is on the rental market, there are defensemen who I don't think will dramatically improve their chances, like Jack Johnson or Mike Green. They're looking for somebody who really solidifies their top four, which would be a Tanev or a few other players that are out there. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, but it was just interesting that I mean they handed the Kings their first regulation loss, but I thought for the majority,
it's inevitable, right? I mean, look, the Kings. It's been an amazing thing that they've been able to do this without Jeff Carter. Gabrick's been gone all year. Yeah. It's pretty much an amazing thing. I mean, they've got some college guys in there. They've really put it together with Bubblegum and Jonathan Quick and Drew Doughty.
And really. I was impressed by Kempe last night.
Yeah, Kempe's a good player.
Playing center on the third line. Alex Iafallo, who I don't know.
Iafallo is the college guy I was referring to. Yeah.
He really quick playing with Kopitar and Brown. I'll tell you, Dustin Brown, he's a lot quicker this year than he has been.
Yeah, apparently he got the memo like, hey, my job's at stake, and really dedicated himself, and good for him. I mean, he's a great guy. He really is. I'm happy to see that.
Now, other news that of rather serious nature that came out last night. Patrick Eaves, who had a great year last year with Dallas and then later with Anaheim, was injured in the playoffs. The Ducks re-signed him for 3 years. He was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, and the only reason I know anything about that is that there was a running back for the Bills back in the early 80s named Booker Moore, first-round pick out of Penn State.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, first-round pick out of Penn State, and he contracted Guillain-Barré, and his career was over.
Yeah.
He never really continued. I believe he's still alive, but it ended his career. Now, this is Guillain-Barré attacks the immune system. And
it's a nerve ending.
Yeah, and the nerve system. They don't know what causes it. They don't know how to cure it, but it can be treated through medical treatment. But
But that only lessens it. It doesn't go away. That's what I think that the misnomer here that people are seeing is, and I read a couple of articles on it, is that, yes, it could be lessened, but it doesn't go away.
Right, and so they don't know if he can come back in weeks or months, or it could conceivably end his career. So I mean, and they're saying that they expect him to make a full recovery, but they really don't. They really don't know. And I hate to sound dire here, but we have all the sympathy for Patrick Eaves, but I'm trying to focus on the effect that it has on the Ducks. The Ducks going into this season, there was question regarding, depth of offense. And so re-signing Eaves was part of maybe addressing that, or at least stemming the tide against that. The Ducks have had a ton of injuries. They're getting Getzlaf and Hampus Lindholm back tonight.
Right.
Fowler is out for a month. Vatanen is still out. This
thing they didn't trade all those defensemen, huh?
Well, but the thing is, Russ, they have a stockpile. Once Vatanen comes back and Fowler comes back, they have actually too many defensemen.
But you know what? Is there ever too many? That's where you have the argument now.
True, but let's just say this. They have a bevy of top 4 options that a lot of teams would salivate over.
Yeah.
I mean, they have
drafted them like that. Anaheim knows how to draft them. That's the key.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a veteran bottom pairing of Boschman and Bieksa, which I don't know, and I haven't watched enough Anaheim games.
I'm going to see him tonight live, so I'll see how that works out.
So you have to let me know. Montour's in the mix right now, obviously, because they have so many injuries on the blue line. But once Lindholm, Vatanen, and Fowler come back, they're really deep on the blue line. So if they need to address forward and get forward,
they'll be able to get a forward if they want to.
Yes, and it may cost them one of those defensemen, but we hope for the best for Patrick Eaves, obviously.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
now that you mentioned in our little pre-show conversation, Kawari Yamamoto and Cunningham mentioned earlier. There was a note, and it was like this big story. It was put out there like it was some sort of big story that Alex DeBrincat and Mikhail Sergachev were going to play their 10th NHL game. Has anybody looked at the way DeBrincat and Sergachev are playing?
Yeah, I mean, is that even in question? Was it ever in question?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Now I thought. And I think a lot of people thought at the beginning of the year, Kawari Yamamoto drafted in the 20s in this draft, 22nd overall by Edmonton. They thought that the Oilers were giving him a little look-see, like they've done with Draisaitl and Puljujärvi before. But based on what's apparent right now, they plan on keeping him because he's playing well.
Yeah, no, they're going to keep him. And right now, without Draisaitl still in the lineup, he's a key component. Like, he's on the top line. He's playing with McDavid and Maroon. Yeah. And I wrote about it on Sportsology. If people want to check it out. McClellan thought the other game against the Flyers, which was a very tight checking game where they shut down McDavid, that he thought Yamamoto played really well, that was a big test for him playing against a tight checking team and a physical team, and he passed that test. And when a coach says that, and he's nearing in on the 9 games, I don't think there's a question that he's staying too unless he gets injured. So, yeah, Sergachev, DeBrincat, Yamamoto. I had DeBrincat as one of my preseason Calder guys. Not surprised. Yamamoto, not surprised that he's doing it. Maybe surprised that he's doing it this soon, which is great for him. I had him ranked 19th. And I definitely stick by that ranking. I think, 22nd, I think Edmonton did get a steal. Look, he's only got 3 points in 6 games, but the point is he's already playing on their top line. He plays well away from the puck. I think his scoring will start to kick in at some point. I saw some really good things out of him. So this is a big thing for Edmonton. Imagine if they didn't have him.
Now, as long as they keep him in a top 6 role.
Yeah, they're going to have to do that. I think when Draisaitl comes back, that'll happen.
And he's supposedly coming back tonight against Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So does that mean that they play Draisaitl up at center on the second line and move Nugent Hopkins back? or do they go back to him playing on the right side with McDavid? I mean, I honestly, if you're signing Draisaitl, I mean, maybe they want to just get out of the slump that they're in right now because they're not playing well, and maybe they just put their two big guns together. But I think in the long run,
I'm putting them in center, and I'm moving Nugent Hopkins down because at this point, Nugent Hopkins is a guy who literally skates fast, wins faceoffs, doesn't do much else.
Right. Okay, let's play a little game here. We'll call it what is more likely to happen first? A, Marc Bergevin is fired by Montreal, or B, Alain Vigneault fired by the New York Rangers. Bergevin yesterday, after coming back from that West Coast trip, was requested by the Montreal media to have a press conference, and he denied the request. So he's I mean, obviously with the way the Habs are going, with the struggles that they're having, with their goaltender frustrated, the last thing that Marc Bergevin wants to do right now is face the rabid Montreal.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah. Now, Larry Brooks, in a recent column with the Rangers, he says that the Rangers have not made a significant trade before Christmas in a long time, and speculated about the possibility of an Alex Galchenyuk, Chris Kreider, or Alex Galchenyuk for Zuccarello type of deal between two struggling teams. He also said that if the Rangers fall out of it, that they'll try to ship out Rick Nash as a rental.
Well, that's a no doubt. Like, I mean, you don't have to be Larry Brooks to figure out the ladder on that one.
Yeah.
But as far as that trade one, this is the problem with the Ranger fan base, always waiting for this big trade to bail them out. And it doesn't always happen, especially in today's world. And so, like, to think that this is going to happen before Christmas, I don't even know if I make that trade anyhow. But if I made it, do I really think that it's going to significantly change the team? No.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think that that's a good deal for the Rangers. I mean,
don't either.
Yeah, I continue to think that the best place for Galchenyuk would be going to Colorado and playing with Yakupov.
Yep.
No pressure and maybe I would assume that would involve a Matt Duchene deal, obviously.
Yeah.
But so regarding the question,
so Bergevin first.
Bergevin first. I mean, I honestly I thought that they would be giving him a little more rope. But
they probably gave him a lot of rope last year, and with that same rope, not much is happening this year. So to me, it wouldn't be shocking. Again, with the Rangers, I think it's more of a situation of, is it all on Vigneault or is some of this on Lindy Ruff? And I think a lot of it's on Lindy too, and the players. And so that's a little more complicated. I think that keeps Vigneault in his job for this entire season. I'm not sure he's getting fired unless they're a last place team. But even with a month or two to go in the season, will they put Lindy in there for that? Maybe. I can't say they wouldn't. They did that once with Glenn Sader. Remember, he went behind the bench, and they still didn't make the playoffs. So we'll see. But right now, I think Vigneault's safer than Bergevin.
Hey, Lou Lamoriello went behind the bench.
He did.
Now, okay.
But it wasn't just Lou, right? He was there with
Scott Stevens.
With who?
With Scott Stevens.
Scott Stevens, that's it.
Yeah. Now, one caveat here to the whole Montreal situation, because we remember, and Elliot Friedman talked about this on a radio show in Edmonton this morning. You remember Jeff Molson coming out last year or over the summer actually, and talking about, and we wondered whether he would get charged with tampering for mentioning John Tavares. Friedman says that he thinks that Montreal has positioned themselves with all this empty cap space to make a move on Tavares. The thing is, I don't think the Islanders.
What if John Tavares doesn't want to go there?
Right. Well, right. That's you're putting all your eggs in one basket. If you've put together a team that I don't think has any logical way of winning a Stanley Cup, or right now even making the playoffs, and putting yourself in a position with a lot of open cap space on the hope that John Tavares signs in Montreal. This is something that the Leafs would do before Lamoriello and Shanahan. They'd put themselves in this vulnerable position, hoping for the savior, and then the savior would never come. And I don't get that. Now, the question two of our what's going to happen first, Matt Duchene, is he traded by Colorado, or John Tavares, does he re-sign with the New York Islanders?
What's going to happen first? No, I think Duchene will eventually get traded. So Duchene will get traded.
Yeah, I honestly think that that Matt Duchene, I mean, I really don't think that the Colorado Avalanche playing well right now is really a factor. I continue to believe that it's what Joe Sakic is looking for in a trade. And I can't remember who. Oh, it was I believe it was either Elliot Friedman or Chris Johnston from Sportsnet on Saturday that mentioned the possibility of again, the team that should be rebuilding going for a short-term move. There are rumors about Vancouver trying to trade for Matt Duchene with Olli Levy, their fifth overall pick from a couple years ago, being the centerpiece of the deal. Now,
I mean, look, if you get Matt Duchene, he probably would re-sign with them, and you do have a great player long-term. So I can't kill them for giving a prospect away for a guy that they could legitimately sign still in the prime of his career. Can't kill him.
Well, the only reason, I mean, first of all, he's 2 years, or they couldn't talk renegotiated contract with him until next July.
Correct.
But the question is, the money, will it be there? I mean, the Sedins, the whole situation with the Sedins and how long they re-sign, if they do re-sign.
I think they'll be re-signed to a very Vancouver-friendly number. I do.
Yeah, like maybe like I thought Thornton and Marlowe would sign.
$2 million each base salary, $2-3 million each in bonuses. I think something like that, performance clauses.
Yeah. Let's just briefly go over the schedule for tonight.
Before we go over the schedule tonight, I don't know if you saw the play, but last night Lundqvist was in the trapezoid behind the net, fielding a puck, and like a lot of goalies do, feel like they're in that bubble and they could take all day. And Logan Couture went back there and didn't touch Lundqvist, but stripped away the puck, and it resulted in a goal. And I think we're going to start to see more of that, because that was a brilliant play, because you don't get a penalty if you don't have contact with the goalie. And so he went back there and got the puck because Lundqvist took too long with it.
Okay. I did not see that. I
don't know if anybody out there in YouTube land saw that, but guys in the chat.
I'm sure there's one particular person who her Twitter feed is My Regular Face. Stephanie, who tweets everything video, so I'm sure it's in her Twitter feed. Okay, so 11 games tonight. I think the obvious best matchup or highlight matchup of the night is
the Islanders Coyotes. I was waiting for you to talk about that one. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Which one?
the Edmonton Oilers at the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby versus Connor McDavid. As I said, Draisaitl is coming back for that game.
Is that game on television, Mike?
Yeah, I think
it's not. It's not on major television.
It's on Sportsnet 1 in Ontario.
Right. It's not on NBCSN. Why not?
Yeah, which honestly, that is a travesty. That is a So the game that is on NBC is Anaheim and Philadelphia, the game that you're going to be at.
Yeah,
and I think I'm fairly sure Detroit and Buffalo is on some. I think they may be on NHL Network or something like that. So it's yeah. But anyway,
looks like Brandon in the chat room did see that play last night.
Okay. Arizona Islanders. That's a barn burner. Anaheim.
It's an important game for the Arizona Coyotes though, because they need a regulation win. If they go another game without a regulation win, I mean, this is not a great start for Rick Tocchet. This is a pretty big deal. They're already using a goalie that we never expected them to use. I don't know who's starting tonight's game, but just the idea that already the goaltending is in flux compared to what we thought the season would start with based on injury. I mean, Ronta getting hurt. I think Ronta may be in tonight. I thought I heard rumors of that. That could help, especially if he gets a win. So we'll see.
Right. Anaheim, Philadelphia, as we mentioned. Tampa Bay, Carolina will be a pretty good matchup. Tampa Bay 7-1-1 right now. Nikita Kucherov and Stamkos were 1-2 in Stars of the Week.
Something about Carolina, the schedule is weird, right? Because not only the Rangers playing poorly, but they've also played 10 games, the most games in the Metro. Carolina's only played 6. How do you only play 6 games up to this point of the season? And that's clearly it's because of television, right? But it's just you got to make it more balanced than that. You do.
Yeah, and that game is on Fox Sports Carolina, I believe.
No, but you know what I mean, because they're not.
I know.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. I mean, and the Leafs have played 8 games. As you said, the Rangers have played 10. To have a team that's played 6 is sort of strange. Now, I'm sure obviously they're going to catch up at some point.
Yeah.
Detroit
they have to play like 7 out of 8, which isn't going to be really great for them, right?
Right. Detroit versus Buffalo here in Buffalo. Florida at Montreal. The Florida Panthers claim Antti Niemi off of waivers from Pittsburgh. Yesterday when
Niemi should take a big gulp with that one.
No. It's because of Luongo. Luongo's injured.
No, I know that, but at some point.
No, they're well, okay. I don't know. Bob McKenzie interpreted this as this means Luongo's injury is much more serious.
It could be.
You're interpreting it as James Reimer is not. He's
got to get it together. Has James Reimer been good for these guys? No,
and not that I know of. I mean, I haven't really been following Florida too much, but if they're depending on Antti Niemi, they're in trouble because he did not.
No, but I think it's he fills in for Luongo in the sense that there's another guy there, but he also pushes him. Right now in 4 games, Reimer's 2-2 with a 314 goals against, 915 save percentage. Not fantastic.
No. Now, the funny thing is that the anticipation was that Niemi was going to get claimed by Vegas because right now Vegas's goaltending tandem is Oscar Dansk and Maxime Legacy. But apparently Fleury is close to being back to returning. So they never even got a chance to claim him on waivers because Vegas has done so well. They're at the bottom of the waiver claims. So Florida was ahead of them. They claimed Niemi. It's a question of whether he's just there to back up Reimer or whether Luongo is much more seriously hurt and he's going to be out long term. We'll see. We'll see. LA at Ottawa. LA playing second of back-to-back games against the Senators.
This will be a tough game for LA.
I have to say though, without Carter, they were still generating some chances. I mean, Mike Babcock said that the most of their chances were from the outside. I thought Freddie Anderson played really well.
I will tell you this: this is what the philosophy is right now of the LA Kings, and they're not afraid to talk about it. Mark Yannetti spoke about it on our XM show. Michael Fuda spoke about it yesterday on Sports Central. Mm-hmm. Basically, they want to be moving the pace. They want to be setting the pace in the game. And so that's what they try and do. And they have enough guys in there now that can really skate, that can do that. And so that's what sort of – they figure, hey, if we're setting the pace and we can hold on to the puck, then that's less time that they have to defend and less saves that Quick has to make. And I think it has been working to a degree for them.
And I think it was Pierre LeBrun who reported that regarding the Kings eventually potentially trading one of Muzzin or Alec Martinez by the end of the season before the deadline. And then looking at and watching their defense, I mean, Fantenberg and Forbert, I mean, they've come along. I mean, I haven't really seen Fantenberg until this year, but Forbert has been in that organization for a few years. Or longer. I can see why they may be open to moving one of those guys because obviously Drew Doughty's contract is coming up after next year, and both Muzzin and Martinez making the $4 million range, and you're essentially going to have to give Doughty probably close to what Kopitar is making, which is $10 million. So they open up space someplace.
Here's the thing about the Kings: that we know they're a great drafting team, but they're also very good at spotting defensemen. They don't always get that Drew Doughty type, but they get a lot of Cale Clagues and guys like that who definitely could play at the NHL level. There's something that they look for in defensemen, guys who could skate, guys who can move the puck, guys who pass the puck well. They don't necessarily always have to be offensive juggernauts, and they're able to get mileage, and they're also very patient with guys like with Derek Forbert.
Yeah, Christian Folan was the other defenseman that they Calgary plays at Nashville.
Now, there's a key thing in this game.
Yeah.
And I talked about it maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and I said, how is Jaromir Jagr not getting sent on a conditioning assignment? And he just thinks he could walk in and play in the NHL, and clearly he hurt his groin. And this is a situation where I said they would have been better off sending him on a conditioning assignment, whether he wanted to or not, to play at least a week or more in the AHL before trying to be up at NHL pace. You could say you're in great shape. You could play in Kladno. It's not the same, especially when you're that age too. That
Right.
was I didn't get why they didn't do that. He probably didn't want to, but again, now he's paying the price.
Yeah, and he's on the IR, and they call up Jankowski from the
He's only
AHL.
played one game at the pro level. It'd be nice to see if he gets in there.
Yeah.
Not at the
Vancouver.
pro level, but at the NHL level.
Right. Vancouver at Minnesota. Vancouver announced that Troy Stetcher, one of their defensemen, is out 4 to 6 weeks. Alex Edler is already out. Russ, this was a part of their team that was bad and thin going into the season, and now you lose 2 of your top 4. I mean, that probably means that they elevate a Derek Pouliot into a top 4 role.
Yeah, they're going to see right away whether he is improved or not.
Dallas at Colorado and Chicago at Vegas, which normally wouldn't be, if you looked at the schedule.
Chicago and Vegas, that's for first place, baby.
Yeah, that's 2 of the top teams in the Western Conference. Are we in an alternate universe or what?
The tops in the conference, man.
Oh, boy. Okay, well, enjoy the games tonight. Enjoy the World Series tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. Eklund should be back tomorrow. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.